Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and today we're working on the 39 Mercury again. We're going to make the rear quarter window hinge and work on its own with a regulator. This is going to be a big job. Last video you might have saw, we made the stainless surround. If you didn't see that, it was a huge project and a big deal to get this thing so that it actually hinges and functions. But now we want to make it actually work like it's supposed to with a regulator. Some of the cars that were done back in the day that were done hardtop, like Barris and a bunch of customizers that did it, when they would make a hardtop car, a lot of times they would just make the rear quarter windows just slide in and out. So if you wanted to put the windows in the car, they'd roll the driver's door, passenger front door up, and then they would just slide this window in, and you shut the door and it was all good. I'm trying to go one step further and make it kind of like a factory type deal where it's just going to roll up. So we have some parts from some other cars. We're going to go over to the Vice and show you some of these parts and how we're going to talk through making all of this work. And hopefully by the end I can just take a crank, wind this sucker down and wind it up, and it'll be good to go. So let's get started. All right, so I got the two regulators here that we're going to kind of demonstrate what we got going on. So this one here, the larger one on the side here, is the 39 Mercury. 39 Mercury panel that holds the regulator is much larger. So my whole idea with this project is to try and use the original panel or a portion of it, because it basically locates a lot of different things. So number one, the garnish molding actually screws into the top of this. The door card kind of fits into this as well, I believe. Some of it goes in the B pillar, but kind of everything's kind of set off of this, so it'll require, after the fact, it's going to require a lot of other modifications or changes, where if I'm able to use this panel on the car and just modify for the regulator itself, I'll be able to, later on, we could just put interior on that stuff on it is the goal. So if you watch this window, I'm going to try and make sure it doesn't fall out of the panel here, but basically when you roll this one up, you can see the arms kind of go together on them, like so, and put it to there. Whereas this one, it's just one single arm over here that as you spin this, and this has broken teeth, so I'm gonna have to fix the gear as well on top of everything else. But basically this arm, get past the broken teeth, goes all the way down and will go vertical, and that's basically down, the window hinged all the way down. And then as it goes up, again, I have to push past the part where it's got broken teeth here. So the window goes up here. So this is just fixed to the back side of the window because it hinges here. It's attached to the B pillar, and the front side just hinges there, and the window just hinges down. So all it needs to do is lift and allow the back corner to lower to hinge it, but there's a lot going on here. We need to make sure the relation of the arm to the pivot point in the back there all works, and this slot is big enough so everything fits. And where the crank is, we're trying to also nail it where this piece will mount in the same hole that did originally, so that we can ideally, hopefully, we can just use the door cards when we get them reupholstered. They can just punch the hole and it goes on like stock off of the old panels they're using as a pattern. So basically this window wouldn't go up really any further than, like, say that, because that's where like the door sill is originally. And then it goes, like I said, it goes all the way down. So we want to try and ideally use this regulator if possible, because everything other than modifying the arm, everything's kind of set like it was. We were kind of looking at maybe we could use the original Mercury regulator with the just putting this arm on it, on one of the gears, and just using, like, say, the back gear or the back arm here, but it kind of goes the wrong way with how all the multiple gears that are in that. It's spinning the wrong way. The other thing we're going to run into on it is the location of it with the location of the pivot on the glass they don't go together. So I think some of the geometry might be like way off. So while it does bolt into this panel nicely, I think there's going to be other problems that arise. And since we already have to either way take these apart, I'd rather just take this one apart, restore the gear, putting another gear on, which we'll show here in a few minutes, and put the arm back on, and then we're just doing some minor modifications, ideally to the arm itself, and not trying to re-engineer all the gears and how they're working. Steve and I are also talking through it, and like, if we use one of the other gears, the force to turn the crank may be really hard, because there is some, with the gears, there is some some help there that's going to make using a little tiny window crank not feel so hard, and you're breaking window cranks. So it's going to try and use what they've already figured out here and just modify the arm a little bit to get what we need. So that's the idea. So I'm going to remove the actual regulator from this, which is much smaller, from this panel. Get rid of this. This panel is very, very heavy. It also has the pivot and everything for the convertible top on it, and we don't need all of that. And we're just going to extract just the regulator, take the gear off, restore that, and then see if we could start lining up where that needs to go on this the black inner panel here from the Mercury. So that's the plan. Fingers crossed it works, and we don't end up with two pieces that are totally destroyed and cut in half. We'll see. All right, we're gonna talk you guys through what I got going on here. So just temporarily, so I went through and had to like restore the regulator. So this regulator for the driver's side that we had from the 46.8 convertible, the main gear on it was all stripped out. The teeth were stripped. Very common problem, especially with these older cars. If you go to put the window up and it's not lubed or is rusty, it can tend to strip the gears. And luckily our buddy Jeff actually makes some gears, replacement gears. So I went ahead and replaced that gear, welded everything back on like it's supposed to be, and then I went and just drilled some small holes to mount the 46.8 regulator in the 39 Mercury panel here, support panel. I'm trying to use that because I want the support panel that fits the car very nicely and kind of locates everything. If my pie in the sky goal here is to reuse basically the same hole for the door card as original, so that it's kind of like the window crank is in the stock position for a 39 Mercury. I think that'd be pretty slick, but has the hardtop stuff. So again, it'll be another one of those little things that you'd have to really look to know what's going on there. So this location, when I was mocking up on the vise, looked very close with all the measurements that Steve and I took, but I knew it wasn't quite right. So what I'm running into, number one, is that the arm that actually grabs the window is in a little bit. So I need to, the Z that's in that arm, I probably need to put a little bit larger of a Z in it, or just heat it a little bit and bend it out just a tiny bit. May even be able to do it cold, and that may work. The other thing is I'm running out at the top of the travel here. I don't have enough slot going out. The slot isn't quite long enough, and it just barely bottoms out. If I had just a little bit more, I think it would pass by and then start going the other direction, because it kind of goes back and forth between that slot. At the bottom, it's actually, I think we have just about enough. I could take a carbide burr on the inside edge, I think, and just take a little bit, and it would probably work nicely. So I'm going to try and show. I don't have a clip or anything on it right now, so of course it's a little harder, but so just keeping some pressure on that lever. Oh, it already slipped out there. Come on. There we go. So going down, it'll start showing up here shortly. So going down right here, we're in the back side of the slot here. So right about there, we're kind of running out of the slot this way. Now it will pass by, but you can feel it's binding a little bit. It's not happy. And then when we get close to the end, then it falls out, but also will fit. So right about there, it's almost vertical. I'd like this to be, or horizontal there, or vertical down here. So I'd like it to go fully horizontal there, which is right about there. So once we go over that point, it's going back the other way, so it's no problem at all. So we can get that. I think I'm going to grind the inside edge of the slot just a little bit and try and take a look here at how long the slot needs to be lengthened, and I can just weld another little piece or some extensions in there to open up the slot a little bit more. Fairly simple stuff here. So I'm going to do those couple little modifications off the car, but yeah, like right there, it's binding. It's at the bottom of the hole there, and I can feel it and hear it. It's not happy, but can get it to go by. So when it gets to right about there, everything's happy. We're going the other way in the slot, and the window is rolling up. It fits up into my pocket here, no problem, which is great. And then we get right about there, we run out of room. So I think I'm only gonna have to add maybe a quarter or half an inch on either side, but need to do some testing. I have to tack weld some stuff and see how it goes, but that's a good first rough mock-up so far. All right, so I put the arm in the mill and opened the slot up towards the inside, and that allowed us to get full rotation without binding of the window going all the way down. I then took some 1/8" plate and welded it to this to the arm on the other end because we needed a little bit more than we needed on this side. And I then took it in the mill again after welding the plate flat stock to it and milled a little further out, and I left more room material than needed, so if we go and try it now and it doesn't fit or we bind again, I can just continue to mill out. I left, I don't know, it was like an 1.5" long piece. I don't think we needed to make the slot go that long, but that was that's what we're doing. So just gotta fit this back in and line it all up. Behind. All right. So now we'll line this window, the arm up with the window. So, all right. So that's in and seated. Cranking up, cranking up, cranking up. Lining up with the slot there. Good. Oh, baby. There it was. That was it. That's so cool. Oh, yeah. So that was perfect. I got about, I don't know, 1/4 inch of slot left. So that was just enough. Oh man, that is some trick shit. Pretty happy with that. All right, so I can pull this back off, cut that arm down the length. Oh yeah, no problem at all. Works great. Man, I am happy with that. All right, so I reinstalled the spring, sprayed it up with some penetrating oil just to help it. But on the back side here, there's a spring that actually I think helps with keeping the window from vibrating down over time. I was thinking about why that spring was there. I was like, I don't know if I need it, or it's necessary, I should say. They had a spring that's on the back side here that's like preloaded that basically I think when the window is all the way in the up position, having that pressure keeps the window weight from hitting bumps from vibrating down, and the window crank from just vibrating and turning and putting the window down over a bumpy road or whatever. So put that back on, rounded the end of this, cut off the excess and just rounded on the disc sander, and everything should fit back together and work. It's all bolted in with all 4 screws that it needs there. So we will put this on and see if it works. We'll see if that clip works. Might not be the right one. All right. Window rolls down. Window rolls up. Everything's nice and tight. Yeah, baby. I can't believe that works. All right, so I got everything mounted and the window works like it should. Fingers crossed it does it here. But I did a handful of tests with rolling the window up and down. Everything seems to work well. I'm going to show you guys. So it's all the way up, and I just got a pair of vice grips for right now. I couldn't find a window crank quickly, but just roll this sucker down like that. And my goal was to get this window frame to be parallel with the top. So that right there fully disappears. It's now horizontal, and the back corner is way down here and is vertical to match the B-pillars. So everything, we got the little spring clip on there, so everything's staying in place and seems to roll up pretty good. I put the spring back in place on the regulator because I think we mentioned it earlier, it helps with keeping the window up. I think when you're going down the road, it doesn't allow the window to kind of vibrate down. Probably helps with assistance when rolling it up and down as well. But everything works really good. A couple of things I noticed already. One of the reasons I didn't polish this in the last video is that I knew we were going to be handling it and using it, and already I can see where I cut our pocket in the top here. Because the regulator arm, I tweaked it or bent it just a little bit so that it kind of forces this window to stay out against the channel here, which it's doing well, but it's a little tight going through our pocket. So it's putting little tiny scratches basically in the stainless. Very small, but if this is mirror polished and when it's all the way up, you can just barely see some little scuffs or scratches. So what I'll probably do is I may sand the edge back where this sits just a little bit to give us some clearance, and I may also put like a little piece of rubber edging over that cut edge somehow so that it's riding on rubber and not sitting on metal to metal where it's going to scratch a mirror polished surface, which is the goal eventually for this. So otherwise, it's like I said, it's fully working. Everything's good. This inner panel here is all bolted in place like factory. The window crank comes out in the stock 39 Mercury location, which is huge. So we can just have our upholstery people just basically make the door card off of the original one, and it'll just clip back on like factory. I was going to go overboard with cutting out the metal and stamping a new piece and welding it back in on that inner panel, but really it's totally unnecessary. The door card covers it. I just re-drilled 4 new holes for the regulator and everything bolts up like it should. I ended up drilling one little like relief hole where the spring mount for that return spring on the regulator has to kind of protrude through. I drilled that hole and then everything fits and nothing hits and it just works correctly. So, I mean, overall, I'm really happy with how it went through. I thought it was going to be a little more involved. I mean, it was pretty involved, but I was thinking I was going to have to like recreate the whole arm and all kinds of stuff, and it was just lengthening and opening the slot up in the middle a little bit and a lot of head scratching, but it ended up working out pretty good. So we have officially a hardtop 39 Mercury now. I just got to make the front windows surrounds and new glass patterns and all that stuff. But the rear is pretty much figured out. So next video, we're going to jump on to doing the other side. I'll probably maybe jump around a little bit in that video, but I'm going to try and document doing the whole other side, getting the rear quarter window working since it's fresh in my brain. But hopefully it'll go a lot faster because now I have measurements and patterns and all that stuff that we can go off of. So it's not me doing 18 times back and forth of trying to make sure that my measurements are right and testing the throw of everything. We can just go right off of this one because we know when we chopped the car, we made a pattern of the quarter window here, and they are basically identical on both sides, or very, very close. So we can just use what we did on this side on the other side, and it should work out pretty well. And then we'll move to the door windows and make all the stainless for that and the patterns as well. And we'll break that up into videos like we've been, very technical, involved videos, but showing what goes into making a full custom or traditional custom like we're doing. So thank you guys for following along. Appreciate it. Let me know what you think of the working rear quarter windows on the Mercury. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.